Once upon a time, there was a poor woodcutter who lived on the edge of a dark forest with his two children, Hansel and Gretel, and their stepmother. Times were hard and food was scarce. One night, as the woodcutter sat by the fire with a heavy heart, his wife whispered cruelly, "We have too many mouths to feed. Tomorrow, we will take the children deep into the forest and leave them there." Hansel and Gretel, lying awake in their tiny bed, heard every word. Gretel began to cry softly, but Hansel squeezed her hand and whispered, "Don't worry, I have a plan." When the house was quiet, Hansel slipped outside and gathered shiny white pebbles under the moonlight. He filled his pockets and returned to bed. The next morning, their stepmother gave them each a piece of bread and led them into the forest. As they walked, Hansel dropped the pebbles along the path. When they reached the deepest part of the woods, the woman said coldly, "Rest here, children, we'll come back for you." But of course, she did not. When night fell, Hansel shivered in fear. "Hansel, what will we do?" Hansel pointed to the glimmering trail of pebbles under the moonlight. "Look, the stones will lead us home." Hand in hand, they followed the path back to their father's cottage. The woodcutter was overjoyed to see them, but their stepmother was furious. A few days later, she locked the door and gave the woodcutter no peace until he agreed to take the children even deeper into the forest. Hansel tried to collect pebbles again, but the door was locked tight. So he broke his bread into crumbs and dropped them along the way. Deeper and deeper they went until they reached a dark part of the forest where even the wind whispered with loneliness. Once again, they were left alone. "Don't worry," Hansel said, "we'll follow the crumbs." But when they looked, the crumbs were gone, eaten by the birds. For 3 days and nights, Hansel and Gretel wandered, hungry and weak. On the third morning, they saw something magical, a little house made of gingerbread, candy windows, and a roof of sugar. "Food!" cried Hansel. They rushed to the house and began nibbling on the walls. Suddenly, the door creaked open and an old woman stepped out. She smiled sweetly. "Oh, poor children," she said, "come inside. You must be starving." The cottage was warm and filled with delicious food. Hansel and Gretel ate until their bellies were full. But the old woman was not what she seemed. She was a wicked witch who lured children to eat them. The next morning, she grabbed Hansel and locked him in a cage. "You will grow fat, and then I shall eat you," she cackled. Poor Gretel was forced to work all day, cooking and cleaning. Every day, the witch checked Hansel's finger to see if he was fat enough. But clever Hansel held out a thin bone instead. The witch, half blind, thought he was still too skinny. After weeks, she grew impatient. "Enough! I'll eat you, fat or thin," she screamed. She ordered Gretel to heat the oven. The oven roared with fire, and the witch bent down to check if it was hot enough. Quick as lightning, Gretel pushed her inside and slammed the door. The witch shrieked and vanished in a puff of smoke. Gretel freed Hansel, and together they found a chest filled with gold and jewels. They packed as much as they could carry and ran out of the house. After many days, they found their way home. Their stepmother had died, and their father, filled with regret, hugged them tightly. With the witch's treasure, they lived happily ever after. Moral: cleverness, courage, and love can help overcome the darkest challenges.